We're now going to discuss the emergent C's of survival. The emergent word means becoming of greater importance. So these categories of items here will become of greater importance, and they represent 12 categories of items that could serve as the basis for essentially all outdoor kits. Because they are categories of items and not necessarily items specifically, they have a great number of things that fall into each category. For example, our first item on our list is called a cutting tool. Now, a cutting tool for survival purposes, for us here at Campcraft, would mean a knife between the 4 and 6 inch range that is a full tang, meaning from tip to tail, it's a solid piece of steel that is at least 1/8 inch thick. The variety of steel, do whatever you want. The grind, all irrelevant to me personally. Use what makes the most sense to you and whatever feels best to you. I do, however, highly recommend a sharpened 90-degree spine. This specific knife is one of our flagship knife designs called the Colonel. It is fit to my hand. So the reason this knife, it's got a little bit over a 6-inch blade on it, 11 3/4 inches overall, about 1 3/4 inches wide. That's because I wanted it as long as my thumb stuck out here, and so that my hand would wrap it nicely this way so that I could choke up on it and use it for a variety of different survival related tasks. So this is where the idea for this knife come from. Also, it can process wood thicker than my wrist, which is important to me because wood that is structural, that is going to hold my body weight or your body weight, should be at least as thick as your wrist. That way you don't have to worry about it breaking on you in the middle of the night. So any type of raised bed structure or anything that's going to support weight needs to be wrist thick. This is large enough for the task. So this is one of our primary cutting tools, a knife. A secondary cutting tool that we would utilize would be a simple carving tool. It could be a pocket knife or another fixed blade full tang knife such as this that we would use for all of our chore related tasks, all of our cooking related tasks. This knife to me is going to be one I'm going to do pretty much everything with, and this is going to be used a lot more per se than the larger knife. So these are two knife options that I would carry with me all the time. I still hold to the old adage, 2 is 1, 1 is none. I always have at least 2 different types of knives with me in 2 sizes for 2 different types of cutting tasks. Other types of cutting tools could include your hatchet. So a nice axe or a hatchet is a good cutting tool, falls into the first category. And of course, your folding saw. So I like a simple pruning saw, whatever brand, whatever style that floats your boat is fine by me, but get one that you like that is going to be capable of doing the tasks at hand. A buck saw or a bow saw all fit into the first category. So that's our cutting tool. Now we come to our combustion devices. With the combustion devices, that's what we're going to make fire with. I have a wide variety of combustion devices in my kit because I'm leading a lot of classes, always instructing, and I'm always loaning out all of my equipment. With that said, we're going to begin with lighters. I prefer a Bic brand lighter. It's just a personal preference of mine because I'm going to show you some tricks later on in this video series that work best with a Bic lighter. So I have a couple Bic lighters. I always carry a couple large ferro rods. I like the 1/2 inch by at least 5 inch long ferro rods, and I like a nice wooden handle or any type of handle as long as it's pinned and epoxied. That is very important. Make sure if you're going to buy a ferro rod with a big handle on it that it has a pin through it and it's epoxied, because the epoxy can and often does come off. So I have a couple large ferro rods in my kit. I'm a big person of tins. I like fire tins of various types for various reasons. I have my fancy Spam tin. This is a tin that contains my small fire kit. Inside the fire kit I have char cloth, I have a piece of flint, a striker, a magnifying glass, a small backup ferro rod, a couple sticks of fat wood, and then I also have a small bird's nest inside this tin. So all that fits in the tin. This is a tin. I put it in a fancier Spam tin just so I know not to throw it in the fire. Now if I had to, I could, but to me it's more for an identification marker. I know that this has my fire kit in it. I also carry a secondary tin, another fancy one. It has skull and crossbones in it, and it just looks cool to me. This one, I've got Ranger bands and batteries. I've wrapped all my batteries for all my headlamps in Ranger bands. That way they will not bounce against one another, and they should hold a charge much longer. I've found these are about 3 years old, still holding a great charge. So just by doing something simple like that, it works well for me, and it gives me an extra tin should I need to char something. And then I have my actual char tin. You can tell that's been in the fire quite a bit. It's secured with Ranger bands, which are simply pieces of inner tube. I just took a bicycle inner tube and cut it up into several dozen bands. And in here I have fire starters, a piece of fungus, more char material, sail needles for repair, a bearing block for bow drill, a thrust bearing, and then I have an additional striker as well. So this is kind of my overflow, just to carry extra stuff. So that is pretty much what comprises my combustion devices. So I have several ways to make a fire. I'd be hard pressed not to get a fire, to be quite honest. All these items are carried in a simple wax canvas bag. That way it's secure. I have a red pull tab so I know fire, red or orange would be fire to me. And that way it's easily identified for most people. Number 3, we have our container. The container is important. As long as it is a stainless steel container, you're going to be able to boil in it, utilize it for cooking. You can use it for first aid, for hot packs. You could use it for a cold pack. A lot of different things you can do with a simple metal container. I also like some sort of a nesting cup. If I wanted to char in this container, I can remove the lid, invert the cup, put it on top, and now I have a char chamber as well. So if I did not have access to tins in my fire kit, I could still make char, I can boil water faster, I can cook soup faster, various types of things we can do. So as long as you have a stainless steel container that is not double walled, you're going to be just fine. This one is a 40-ounce container with a pop top, so it pours out. I don't have to take the lid off every time I want to drink from it, and it fits real nicely in my kit overall. Cordage. Cordage is something that we're going to carry quite a bit of. I like to carry a roll of bank line whenever possible. That's the black tarred material. And I also carry a lot of paracord. By and large, I carry about 50 feet of paracord in most of my kits. That's because I like to use paracord for a ridgeline on all my tarps and setup systems, and for everything else I'll use a simple bank line. For bank line, I like to carry a minimum 150 to 200 feet, often up to a pound. I'll take a big giant roll of bank line with me. Our cover device, cover should always begin with the clothing on your back. You must dress properly. We've already discussed this in another segment, but when you dress properly, the clothes on your back serve as your first line of defense against the elements. So assuming you're dressed properly, the things we're going to carry in our kit would include drum liners. Simple drum liners can be used as ponchos, as various types of debris beds. It's going to enable you to collect material, do a rain catchment, etc. So this is a cover that we could wear and also utilize for other things. And then our emergency tarp. This is the reflective emergency tarp, has the reflective lining on the inside of it. This is a 5x7 heavy duty tarp. This is going to be our primary cover. So this again is for a survival kit, not a general camping kit, which we'll get into and explain. If I had a general camping kit, I may have a large 10x10 tarp, maybe an oilskin or a canvas tarp, along with a hammock, tent. All that falls into the cover category. So these first 5 C's that we have here represent something that we could refer to as an EDC item, everyday carry. How on earth are you going to wad this up and carry it in your pocket every day? We think EDC, everyday carry. How do we get something like this and carry it every day? Well, you don't have to necessarily think this big. We can put something like this in our hand and walk around all day at the office. Nobody's going to bat an eye, right? We can carry a combustion device such as a lighter in our pocket all day and nobody's going to know anything about it. We could carry a hank of paracord and put it in a cargo pocket or a back pocket or whatever the case may be. May not be 50 feet, but maybe it's 25 to buy us some cordage. Maybe we swap out our boot laces with paracord, get us another 10 or 12 feet of cordage right there. You can carry cordage with you as well. It's usually not uncommon to carry some sort of a pocket knife or other small fixed blade knife on you all the time. A lot of us do this in our daily routine, but a good sturdy pocket knife at least gives you some sort of a cutting tool. And then of course you have your cover, which would be your clothing. So dressing properly with a nice moisture wicking base layer, a mid layer to trap heat, and then something for outerwear to expel water and cut the wind. Now you have a cover element. So these 5 C's are things that you can wear all the time, and we say it's an EDC item because they're the most difficult things to reproduce in the wilderness if you didn't have anything at all. For God's sakes, you'd be having to boil out a container to try to boil water or purify water. It takes a lot of time, takes a specialized skill set, and if you're hungry, injured, tired, under stress, it's not going to happen. At least not the way you think it might. So these 5 things are what we call EDC items, and they're the most difficult to recreate. From here we get into the final 6 items or 7 items. We have the compass as number 6. With our compass, we have pace beads and a notebook. The notebook is always right alongside the compass. The notebook's going to enable us to take not only notes of our directions of travel, but it's also going to enable us to create maps, and should we need rescued, leave notes along the way or directions on variations in our path that we've taken while we're outdoors. So that's vital. So the compass would include a notebook and of course a writing instrument such as a pencil, preferably a pencil. Another add-on to that, this can kind of fall into our 12th category as well for circumvention. I'll get to that in a bit. But I have these Sharpie industrial markers. These markers will mark on wet and greasy surfaces. So when you're thinking rescue or perhaps a bloody patient, or God forbid you are bloodied up for some reason and you have to apply a tourniquet, be it an actual or an improvised, you're going to at least be able to mark on your skin, leave marks on vehicles as you pass by them. You're going to be able to do a lot of different things with these 2 things. Pick these up at a local big box store, throw these in your kit with your compass and in your notebook, and it's going to do you a lot of good. We have our candling device. Candling devices for us is always going to be some sort of headlamp. So I like the Yuko brand headlamps. They work very well for me. Various brightnesses, different kinds of colors you can get. If you're doing search and rescue oriented material, when you're outdoors or you're on a search team, obviously you're going to want some type of a red or a green light that would be included in your headlamp again. Talk to your chief accordingly on that. But by and large, get yourself a headlamp, and again, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Always have 2 headlamps at your disposal and make sure they take the same size battery. That way you can eliminate the need for carrying multiple batteries. Other things that would fall in that category: candle lanterns, flashlights, gas lanterns, etc. All types of candling devices, but for survival and in the basic level kit, we want a headlamp. Cargo tape is going to be next on our list here. Cargo tape is going to be a heavy-duty duct tape. So for us, we largely use Gorilla Tape, and I honestly only like the 1-inch wide rolls of Gorilla Tape. I'm able to utilize this for a variety of first aid needs and equipment repair needs, as well as fire starting needs. So I'm able to sew through this, make butterfly bandages with this, make steri strips with this. I've used this for all sorts of things, and it makes a decent fire tinder. We have cloth and repair needle. Now, as I said, the repair needles are something that I carry in one of my tins. It's probably the wrong tin. and it is. I carry a number 14 sail needle, and I carry quite a few of them because needles tend to break when you need them in a pinch. So I've got about a dozen or so large gauge sail needles here, and they're the ones that are triangular on the ends so that they pierce canvas. I carry a lot of heavy duty canvas or heavy Cordura gear while I'm outside, mostly canvas, and that will enable me to puncture through that heavy canvas and stitch something should it need repair. It's also great for an improvised compass. I can poke holes in bark when I'm trying to make bark containers. And the type of cloth that I have, I definitely recommend a shemagh, something that is full size and brightly colored. This not only serves as a rescue device for flagging, but it's also super multi-purpose. I can cut pieces off for char, for fire making. I can pack wounds with it, do bandaging, make cravats. I can also apply it to canvas and do an improvised stitch just to strengthen up the canvas. So I carry a shemagh, and I also carry a simple bandana or handkerchief. That way I've got extra cloth material as well. This specific one just happens to have first aid information. While I know first aid information, the person coming upon me, if I get lost or injured, may not. So at least they have something there that they can look at to maybe help them in a time of need, my time of need specifically. We have a combination tool, number 10. This is an item that you probably will not use as much as you think in the woods, but in an urban environment or between that urban-suburban interface, this is an indispensable tool. You're going to be able to use it to cut wire, pull nails, make things out of tin, out of road signs, etc. A wonderful tool to have. Make certain that it has a nice pair of cutters on the inside. Make sure that it also has a file and a saw, and that is going to get you quite far on a good combination tool. Another type of combination tool that combines a few of the items we've already talked about is called a rip spool. This specific rip spool includes some cordage, great for sewing. It includes cargo tape, a nice 2-inch section of duct tape, and then once you unscrew it, there's also a sail repair needle built in on the inside, and this is waterproof as well. So you can get some very small fishing equipment and put in here a few hooks, a few sinkers, and still close this in a waterproof container. And even the cordage they have put on with it is a fire cord. It has a waxed jute line in there that has got some sort of an accelerant on it, so you can use it to make a fire. So this handy little item encompasses a few other items that we have here, and this is another great type of combination tool you might want to consider. We have Cerate. Cerate is one of those things that a lot of people, what the heck is a Cerate? A Cerate is nothing more than a medicinal salve. So if you think some sort of an ointment or a lip balm or gloss, anything that is included with medicinals, beeswax, and has a basic base of medicinal is going to be a Cerate. By extension, this would include any ointment that is used for medication, be it diaper rash or athlete's foot or triple antibiotic. All that would fall under Cerate. So I use Cerates for all of the above. So if this specific Cerate that I carry has a big infusion of chamomile, yarrow, and plantain, and it's beeswax based. So it's got a little bit of those antibacterial properties as well. So if I get a small cut or injury, I simply take it and I schmuck it full, and that way the bleeding is going to stop, the healing process is going to begin. Also on my knife blades, I can take it, because I use carbon steel knives most of the time outdoors, I would take this and just coat the blades with it. That way they don't rust as quickly, and I have a nice protective coating that's food grade and food safe on my knife at all times. And then of course, lip balm or any other need that I need some lubrication across some cordage or whatever the case may be, zippers even, all that works well for this. So there's 101 uses for a Cerate. And lastly, we have Circumvention. Circumvention means workaround. So it is a category of workaround tools. If I were in an urban environment, a nice workaround would be a silcock key. Something like that would be a wonderful circumvention tool. I have a little bag full of additional circumvention tools. If I'm in spiritual crisis, I have a small New Testament Bible where I can circumvent that issue. If I'm in a highly sunny environment, I have some sunscreen, circumvention tool. If I find a steak laying on the trail, I have tools to eat that steak, so circumvention tools. Water filters, first aid kits, chem lights such as this for signaling for rescue, Gold Bond powder here for your feet or your swamp butt. All these things are types of circumvention tools. Your fish mouth spreaders so that you can pull your water containers out of the fire without burning your hands and all that stuff. Again, circumvention tools. It's really the catch-all category that fits you as a person. That way you're going to be able to say, hey, I really like this gadget, I really think I need this, or I want to carry it in my kit. Well, it goes in the circumvention category. That way you can overcome or work around the problem that you face most often. So this is what we represent as the 12 categories or emergent C's of survivability.